the largest abortion provider in the United States, receives millions of dollars in government aid, yet they are still classified as a nonprofit organization. Simple fact, funding Planned Parenthood and its affiliates does not decrease abortion, it increases it. I stand here this act to show my support for this amendment and for all of the continuing efforts to defund Planned Parenthood.
And as long as we've got to fight to protect a woman's right to make her own choices about her own health, I want you to know that you've also got a president who's going to be right there with you, fighting every step of the way. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. God bless you.
Yeah, he's right there with them saying, God bless you, Planned Parenthood. And here, Planned Parenthood, they receive over $528 million of our tax dollars. Some reports are breaking this down, saying it's about $1.5 million every day, your dollars going to Planned Parenthood. Well, I'm really proud that two mama grizzlies that Sarah Pack supported early in their first campaigns, they're the ones leading the fight to defund this horror. Congresswomen Diane Black and Joni Ernst. And joining me now, one of those bold women, Tennessee Congresswoman Diane Black, and I thank her so much for leading this fight. I will ask you, Ms. Black, to talk about legislation that you've introduced and any other efforts in Congress to defund Planned Parenthood.
Oh, Sarah, thank you so much for having me today, and thank you for bringing this topic to the American people. We have to just keep having the American people understand what truly is happening. They've been sold a bill of goods, a bunch of lies by the Planned Parenthood Association, and we have just got to make sure people are seeing the heart and the soul of what's behind that curtain. So this is great that you're continuing to talk about this. I can't thank the Center for Medical Progress enough for breaking that veil so people can really see what they're about. I have a bill that would simply say for 1 year we are going to place a moratorium on the money that Planned Parenthood gets. You've already talked about the over $500 million that they get, $500 million. And that money does not get lost. That money goes to other clinics that are providing the services that Planned Parenthood declares that they're providing, and in a much larger way. So we have about 13,000 of these either federally qualified health clinics across the country. They could be faith-based, they can be state health departments, and they're providing these services. They can get that money. But in the meantime, we need to investigate Planned Parenthood and really find out what's going on behind their doors.
That's right. It's appreciated there that you're on top of that, the investigations that are needed. Now, we can assume that President Obama would veto any of your actions to defund. If Congress can't override President Obama's veto of the defunding, as, again, we know he'll probably do because he loves Planned Parenthood, how else can we stop our tax dollars from going there?
We can do it through the appropriations process as well, and as you've already alluded to, we have a president who is in love with Planned Parenthood. But, Sarah, I have been saying for over 40 years as a nurse that the only way that we're going to get the people of the country to understand truly what's happening is that win their hearts and minds. And that's what we're doing with these videos, is that we're allowing people to see this is not a blob of tissue, as has been sold to them for over 40 years. They are now seeing that if you're trying to harvest a brain, a heart, a lung, you don't get that from a blob of tissue. You get that from a baby. And it is by the American people standing up and just insisting that their dollars not to go to these despicable organizations that do the kinds of things that we've seen that Planned Parenthood is doing. That's when we're going to really change what's happening here in this country with the funding of Planned Parenthood and other abortion clinics.
Well, and you being a nurse for 40 years, your position is so legitimized, Congresswoman. Did you have previous experience with this law-breaking business, Planned Parenthood, before this? And Congresswoman, the excuse that we hear to keep up the funding, it's because supposedly they provide medical referrals and birth control for other women. But as you are suggesting, surely there are other clinics and even Obamacare that's doing the same thing. Are we duplicating services here?
Well, we are, and there is no reason in this world why we should be giving that kind of money to an organization that really is the biggest abortion provider in the entire country, when there are other agencies around, as I say, state health departments, county health departments. And by the way, they are having to compete with Planned Parenthood for those dollars. They do a wonderful job. I know this because I've been in medicine for a long time. I've seen the services. You know, Planned Parenthood got called out several years ago when they declared that they did mammograms, and when the investigations were done, we saw they didn't do mammograms. The other services that they claim that they are providing are minute compared to the number of abortions that they provide. And so there is no reason why we should have good health care that is being provided by other agencies that we know are providing very good women's services. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at what Planned Parenthood has. They have a surplus of $127 million last year. Why are we giving them federal dollars when they have a surplus of $127 million? It is ludicrous. There are good services provided for women across this country, right in their communities. I've been a part of it for a long time. I know it. I see it. And no longer, by the way, do we give money to Planned Parenthood in the state of Tennessee. We were able to defund them when I was still in the state Senate there, and it should be done all the way across this country.
Well, there are things certainly that constituents can do to help you and your colleagues in this effort to defund. You are a conscientious Congresswoman, and you listen to your constituents. I want to assume that everyone in Congress does the same. Does it help for people to call in and light up the switchboard and give you our take on the issue? Or how is it that more Americans can get involved and help you and help the rest of Congress understand that we don't want our tax dollars going towards this atrocity?
Sarah, you are so right. And legislators do listen when they get calls. They listen when they get faxes. They listen when it's put on the Facebook. And first of all, I want to say, people, thank your congressmen if they're already on board. We have more than 160 co-sponsors on my bill. Just write them a little note, call their office, thank them, because they also need to be supported, and let them know that they're doing a good job. But for those that have congressmen that are not listening or haven't committed, call their offices. As many of you as can call, believe me, when they get more than 4 or 5 calls in their office, they start to listen to what's being said, and they know that the American people are paying attention. So call their offices, let them know how you feel, ask your friends in the community, if you play baseball or you go to church with them, to do the same thing. And let's make sure we get as many co-sponsors on this as we can. I've not been shy about asking our leadership, when are you going to bring this up? I wanted to do it before we left for the August break, but we need to put pressure on our leadership as well. Kevin McCarthy has told me that, yes, he will bring up the legislation, but the sooner the better.
Okay, good. And there again, here's a proposed solution. It's not just griping about the problem, but the Congresswoman, she proposes a solution, and part of that is thanking those who are already on board and certainly encouraging the other lawmakers, our leaders, to get on board with her efforts, Joni Ernst's efforts. I thank these women for leading the charge. So I thank you, Congresswoman Black, and still ahead. An investigative journalist is uncovering the truth on Hillary Clinton's email scandal. We've got more on the latest there.